Good evening and welcome to Feedback. I'm Mark Despotakis. Coming up tonight, are you into this whole new world of e-technology and e-commerce and e-everything that seems to be around us? Well, did you ever think of reading a book online? We're going to be talking with someone who wants you to do that tonight on Feedback. Good evening. As I said, welcome to Feedback. You know, everything in this world seems to be technology driven. We're constantly emailing. We're always using the internet and always using our computers for something. And you know, at the end of the day, this is what I do at least. I turn the computer off and then I go to bed and I read a book. Well, someday, maybe even tomorrow, I might not be turning off the computer to read that book. I may be staying at the computer to read the book. We're going to be speaking with Ed Murphy tonight. He's an author of an e-book. We're going to find out what that is and how you could go about getting that tonight. That's coming up a little bit later. But as is usual, I'd like to my first segment here, I just sort of rant and rave about something, and not a whole lot I found for you tonight, but one thing that I read in Monday's paper I thought was kind of interesting. You know, we're kind of in this game show craze, Survivor, you know, game show basically, even though they call it reality TV, in the end it was a game show. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? We had Greed along the way. We had all these game shows. Well, NBC has a new one coming out, and let me just quote directly from the Life section of USA Today on Monday. An NBC game show has pop culture covered. If you can identify Regis, Rolling Stone, Real World, and Rambo, you might be the perfect candidate for NBC's new game show. On the Curve will quiz contestants on pop culture trivia by identifying images featured on the covers of magazines, books, CDs, movie posters, television programs, and classic albums. The show is scheduled to premiere next summer. So what do you think about this? This is changing. You know, we get the Game Show Network here. I'm able to watch that on cable, and I watch all these old game shows that like I grew up with, you know, like $100,000 Pyramid and game shows like that. And now they're saying that we're going to have a game show coming out based on pop culture, and I'm sure NBC is going to hype this up, have this in prime time, and they're going to want folks like you to come out and be on it. Now, you're probably thinking, I think this is not the greatest idea, and you're right. And the reason I think that is because it seems that today in society, and as I've mentioned before, so I'm probably just, you know, same thing over and over again, telling you that everything we do is so pop culture driven. You know, as you know, I have newspapers on the set all the time because I'm always reading newspapers. I read 3 papers a day, and so I'll just have them sitting around, and it's amazing what people go for immediately when they see you have a newspaper. The first thing they go for is either the sports section or the life section or like the magazine type section. No one reads, you know, the front page of the paper anymore, or even the business section. No one even bothers to look at those because that's not important anymore. And I think NBC is just re-emphasizing this. You know, I used to, when I would, in watching television news, network news, I always thought, wow, NBC News, I really like them. I like Meet the Press. I think it's a wonderful program. And I always like their nightly news. And then watching them this election season, they've already skipped one of the presidential debates, have not aired one of the debates, because baseball was more important. And it seems that the media, and I've complained about this too, the media are the ones who are letting this happen and letting you be dumbed down by them because pop culture is taking over. Pop culture is now the driving force. It's, you know, when you get the paper, some people don't even read the front page. They're buying it just for that life section or that magazine section. It just drives me mad. If I don't read the life section, you know, my day is fine. You know, I will read it because I want to read everything that's in the paper, but it just absolutely amazes me that how society works now, that we are so engrossed in what is going on in gossip and what's going on in those lives around us, and celebrity lives, that is, not what's going on right now, what's going on in the Mideast. This is very important to what's happening even in America. You might not think so, but it's something global and it can affect us. But people probably couldn't even tell you what was happening in the Mideast now. But I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir. This audience is the most intelligent audience out there, and I'm sure that you would know that. So that's, I had to rant about that. I had to go off on that today because when I saw that NBC was coming out with this game show, I just thought, wonderful, just another thing to feed the fire here, fuel on the fire for American society. So, well, moving on now, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we are going to talk about the electronic world, how that is taking over everything we do, and how would you like to read a book online? We're going to talk with Ed Murphy about that coming up next on Feedback. Stay with us.
Ago, and I put everything away, so I did.
What is this? Pizza? What? Pizza?
If you had just called me, I would have known what.
Dinner ready is pizza.
I didn't know you'd be so late.
Let me ask you something. Is it too much to have dinner waiting when I go home?
Please don't be so loud.
Don't tell me what to do. You shut up.
I thought you'd be home.
I can get pizza at work.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'll do something better. I'll fix you something
better.
Let go of me.
Get in the kitchen.
No.
Well, it hurts. Do you want to see what hurts? That's what hurts. That's what hurts. Now get up and clean up this mess. Shut up.
I'll be quiet. I'll be quiet. Oh, please.
For information, call 1-800-END-ABUSE.
Hey, young people. Want to do something to help other young people? For 50 years, millions of you have trick-or-treated for UNICEF. The quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies we collect buy medicines, clean water, nutrition, and education. And that saves children's lives. Hey, grown-ups. Halloween is a great time for children to learn that they can make a difference. UNICEF, saving children's lives, building children's futures.
Welcome back to Feedback. I'm Mark Despotakis. E-technology is everywhere. It's taking over the world, I think, and now you can read books on your computer. Joining me tonight is Ed Murphy. He is an e-book author, I guess we could call you.
Thanks.
We're going to talk a little bit about what e-books are and all that coming up in a second, but first of all, I think it's interesting just when somebody writes a book. So you've written a book, and it's called The Cure Complex, if I can get that out. Tell us what the book's about.
Well, it's basically, it's in the genre of what they call speculative fiction, action adventure. If you like books by Tom Clancy or Ian Hunter or some people like that, this book falls into that category. It takes some realistic situations and puts a fictional shroud around it, so it makes it an interesting story. Okay. The book basically starts out in deep space. It is a teaser. It comes back to the Earth in 1947, goes to an observatory in New Mexico where a mysterious death occurs. And then from there it moves on to 1974 on a secret mission to Russia on a submarine that goes up to a genetic research station. Don't want to give the whole book away in case anyone wants to buy it. Then it comes back to the present. In between all of this, the moon mission takes place that is highlighted in the book also. But then it comes back to the near future in Arizona at a government research station where they're putting some genetic engineering and bioengineering to work on finding a cure for cancer, and it centers on one individual, Corey Williams, whose dream or goal is to cure cancer, and how he gets drawn into this web of intrigue and murder and mystery as he goes about getting involved in the research project.
So this isn't just your average fictional book. I mean, you must have spent a lot of time researching and learning a lot of technical terms even for
Well,
this.
it took a little over 4 years to write the book. It's in a bound printed version. It would be about 300 pages. When I write about the space shuttle, there's a mission to the Mir space station. When I write about the space shuttle, I actually went to Houston and went on the space shuttle simulator to look at it. I actually didn't fly it or anything or get involved in the programming, but it was interesting because if you're going to dock with the Mir space station and you want to write about it, you have to know how to do that. And as a fiction writer, you can use a lot of creativity. You don't actually physically have to do that, but you should know about it. So I took some time on doing that. When I looked at writing about a submarine, I toured 2 submarines, went on board to find out the layout, the configuration, what had to be done, the crew complement. So as you go through the book, when you read it, it's all based on realistic premises.
So a lot more research definitely goes into this than some other books.
Well, that's the fun part of this book.
That's the fun part for you?
Is the research, because you find a lot of interesting things. And of course, with the advent of the internet, too, a lot of the information is readily available.
Right. Do you have any other books out, or is this just your first
I don't
try
have
at
a
this?
book out right at the moment, but I don't want to say Stars and Stripes, but a magazine that is publishing an anthology of war stories picked up one of the things I wrote about Memorial Day. When I took my grandson to Arlington Cemetery, I wrote just a small short story about it, and they picked it up and asked if they could put it in an anthology they're going to publish, and the proceeds are going to go to the Women's War Memorial in D.C. So I have that out. It's under the Royal Scribe on the internet. I have 4 other books underway. One is called Echoes. It's sort of a human Jurassic Park. It's about cloning. And I'm in the halfway through with that project. And I have about 3 or 4 other books that are still in the developmental stage. Right now with Cure Complex, I'm doing a screenplay adaptation for it.
Really?
Yeah, and that's interesting because it's not, when you write a novel, you have to write from a certain point of view. When you do a screenplay, you really have to give the direction and all that of what to do, so it's a little different.
What's your background? How did you come to be an author?
Well, I just want to say, you know, anybody can be an author if you're creative and you're willing to really get involved with it. My family and my kids mainly were my main encouragement to do this because I always had the idea to do it. Just really, my background is marketing and sales, and to be creative in marketing and sales, naturally, you know, it can translate into a novel.
Huh. So I was reading, there was an article in the Derrick, I believe it was, that we have in your information here. There was something, here's the quote, I found it. If you ever want to know if you have what it takes to be a writer, just join a writer's group. After the first session, I thought I would never write again, let alone go back to the meetings. Why do you say that? So you joined a writer's group?
I joined a writer's group up in State College. We met on Monday nights up at Barnes & Noble, and it was anywhere from 8 to 12 people. It expanded and contracted, you know, throughout the period. And I went up. I had sent my original novel out to the West Coast to a writer's group out there, which was, I got the critique back on that, and it was quite dramatic reading that critique. But when I went physically to the writer's group and sat down, and I thought, well, this is going to be great. I'm going to read my first page, and everybody's going to love it. And oh, it didn't turn out that way. It was kind of like, you know, oh my, what am I doing here? You know? But what they tend to do is they really make you look at what you're writing to make sure that when you write it, people can understand it. Then we would have sessions once a quarter, it was, where we would have a Saturday and Sunday session where we would go in and we would all write short stories. They put on like Mozart for the Mind in the background to get you creative, and we would write short stories and critique those and read them out loud. So it helped me, it really did help me become a better writer. But it is, you really have to be tough-skinned to do it, because the criticism, and you want that direct criticism. Without it, you really can't improve yourself.
Right. No, we're in television here. We know about criticism. We're going to take a break right now, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the idea of e-books. Right here, this is the book. Can you believe that? We're going to talk about that. Coming up next, we'll be right back on Feedback. Stay with us.
Hey, kid, boyfriend wants to know if that girl will go out with him. Pass it down.
Hey, Grandma, ask the girl on the end if she wants to go out with this loner.
The young man wants to know if the girl over there is a donor.
Somebody wants to know if you're an organ and tissue donor.
Yes.
Hey, me too.
Are you a donor? Make sure your family knows your decision so there's no question later.
This portion of the programming is being made possible through a grant from the Clarion Agway, located along Main Street in Clarion. The Clarion Agway offers a wide selection of lawn, garden, pet, and farm supplies. They also offer a large selection of power equipment. The Clarion Agway is open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. until 5 p.m., and Saturdays from 8 a.m. until 2 p.m. That's the Clarion Agway, located at 1130 East Main Street in Clarion. Phone 226-9270.
Maybe you have what it takes to be one of us. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Feedback starts now. And I said, you know, wouldn't a better name for a movie to come out now? And I think I'm going to make the movie or write the book. It would be a great book to have. And you can call to get her book. You can also find it online. Well, I have a feeling I'm going to be rather opinionated. People I know so. Let's ask them about scheduling. Why is it that students have such a problem here with?
Tune into Feedback with Mark Despotakis every Tuesday and Wednesday night beginning at 7:30 p.m.
We're totally out of time. No time to talk to you. We'll see you tomorrow. Welcome back to Feedback. I'm Mark Despotakis. We've been talking about e-books and kind of e-technology and what's going on in the world around us. And actually, in the last segment, we were just talking about what the book is. Now, Ed Murphy joins us. Read the book Cure. I can't say that. Cure Complex. But yeah. I keep referring to it as a book. It's actually an e-book. Explain to us the concept of an e-book.
Well, an e-book, up-to-date concept is that you go to a publisher that has, I'm with crossroadspub.com, and they're a publisher on the internet where you submit your work to them, they edit it, they assign an editor to you, and they edit the story, and of course all the punctuation, grammar, and the technical edit. And then after about 4 months of going through that process, they publish the book, and they put it on their site where you can purchase it. And basically, you can buy it in a number of forms. You can download the book into your PC or into what they call a rocket reader. That's a brand name, but they're coming out with different ones. And they're about the size of a hardback novel. And you download the book in that. They're backlit, so you can read them, you know, in the evening or you don't need a direct lighting to read them. And you press a button and it flips the page, it turns the page, just like you're reading a book. I saw a lot of those when I was out on the West Coast, particularly in colleges. A lot of colleges have them. Instead of carrying large backpacks of books, they just carry a few discs with them in their rocket reader. And it's, well, what it does, it holds down the expense, because as trees and paper become more expensive, they're up to like $38 for a hardback book, you can buy Cure Complex for $4 to download it, or $8 to put it on a CD, which is like a normal CD that everybody's used to in their computers and what have you, to what they call an iCard, which really was developed for businesses to use as business cards at one point. And that same book is on this card here, and it's called an iCard. And on here is also 4.5 minutes of music that they composed for Cure Complex. And that fits right into a standard computer, right into the CD drive, or it'll fit into the rocket reader. So you can either download it and go to a rocket reader.
You know, this rocket reader, I mean, is it still like I'm reading off of a computer screen, right? I mean, is it still...
Well, you can increase the font size. You can do different things with it. You're still reading it off of an electronic device, but it's not sitting at your computer with a mouse or a keyboard looking at it.
Because as I mentioned earlier, like, I will give you, this is the rundown of my evening. When I go to bed, I check my email, and then I shut the computer off, and then I go to bed and read a book. I have a little book light. I can't imagine, like, even if I have a report due or something, I'll print the report out to proofread it, because my eyes just go, I can't handle it on the computer. And I mean, I've had other people tell me that. What is your reaction to that? How can we get around that to read your book? Or can't we?
Well, you will eventually. They're going to have print on demand also, where you'll be able to go into a bookstore, go to the kiosk, and either download it into your rocket reader, order the CD, or order what they call a print on demand copy. which in about 15 minutes you can have a hardback or a softback version of it, but it would be bound.
Right.
And the pricing on those probably are in the neighborhood of like $12 to $15,
so
it's pretty good.
So you're saying about a kiosk in the bookstore now, and I haven't seen this in any of the bookstores I've been into yet. Is this something that's happening across the country?
Yes, it is. They have a few of them. I know some of the major bookstores have them in test areas like Barnes & Nobles and Borders Books have them and stuff like that. In certain test areas, I know LA and New York. But it's something that's coming pretty fast because most of the print publishers bought up all the small print-on-demand publishing companies, getting ready for that to really break loose. So.
Well, you know, I guess maybe I was telling you during one of the breaks, I was saying before how I read all these newspapers, and people tell me all the time, why do you buy these newspapers and carry them around all day? Why don't you just read it on the internet? Because it's the same thing, maybe I'm just behind it. Maybe I'll catch up someday. Well,
I don't think so. A lot of people are still going to read the hard print. That's never going to go away.
Right.
This is just a supplemental addition to it because a lot of people don't have the time to really, sit down and watch things or read, the newspapers and stuff. But if you have your Rocket Reader with you, no matter where you're at, you can read it anywhere.
That's true. Well, how much technically did you have to learn to be able to do this, or did you just write the book and this company did that for you?
It was a process. You don't really have to know any of the HTML coding or anything like that. They'll pretty well take care of all that. What you really need to know how to do to be an ebook author and get it published is know how to use the internet, be able to use high-end word processors. High-end, I mean like Word Pro 2000 and stuff like that. Be able to use that pretty well. They have a certain criteria. You have to meet the dimensional parameters of the page and stuff. You have to know how to do that, to do the settings on your word processor and everything. But outside of that, really, that's all it takes. It's really not too difficult at all to do.
So, if someone wants the book, where can they go? Let's say someone's watching right now and say, I want this book. Where can we go to get it?
Well, to purchase it, you can go to crossroadspub.com. That's www.crossroadspub.com to purchase the book. I have a site for Cure Complex, and it's at www.curecomplex.com. And I also have a free site at Delphi that you can go to from my site for Cure Complex. Also, the first chapter is available at my site at www.curecomplex.com.
So, just to reiterate, because I don't, this whole world of technology frightens me. If someone wants, they don't necessarily have to get it so they will get the discs. They can go and just download it right off the internet.
Download it right into your PC. If you have a PC, you can download it right into your PC and put it on a disc and take it with you if you have a reader. It's very easy to manipulate it and use. It's not difficult at all.
Is it only PC or Mac or?
Mac, they do have a Mac version.
They do?
You can download, yes.
Very interesting, very interesting. So the books you're working on now, these are still going to be e-books?
These are all e-books at this point. To really get into the hardback publishing, my best advice I could give anyone is live in New York or LA to do that because it's really hard. When you live in Du Bois, it's very difficult to get into that circuit of publishing. So this is why e-publishing really opened it up for me and a lot of creative people. We're starting a writers group in Du Bois.
Right, we should mention that you are
based on that, sure. Looking at it, I've got a lot of calls, people saying, hey, let's get together. I have a book I'm writing and so on. I want to get it critiqued and all that, so we're going to look at doing that too.
So we're talking about Cure Complex possibly becoming a movie. What is that like for you now, writing a screenplay?
A screenplay is a little different than a novel. In a screenplay, you really have to give a lot of direction. You just can't describe a scene. You have to say, moving from section Y to A or something like that, however you're doing it. You can give direction to the characters so they know what to do. He closes the door, he takes a sip of water, so it's just quite different when you do a screenplay.
So you're writing all of those cues in then?
All those cues will be in there.
That's interesting.
Well, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck have a contest going on right now for screenplays. It's at the Green Light Project, I believe it's called, on the internet. Anybody can submit a screenplay to them.
So is this your real job? Is writing your real job, writing these books, or do you do something else from 9 to 5?
I'm in marketing and sales from 9 to 5.
So,
and I do, I'm with Sunny 106 out of Du Bois, so I've been there since April. And You'll see me up a lot on the weekends, up until 2 in the morning writing. So it is a task. It's really task oriented. If you're going to write, the hardest thing to do is commit to complete it. That's the hardest thing to do.
But it seems that the people who write generally love it.
They love it.
Certainly seems you do. Let's give out the ways people can get these one more time.
Okay, you can go to the Cure Complex site at www.curecomplex.com, and you can purchase it at www.crossroadspub.com.
Okay. And can you believe 300-page book right here? I can't believe it. I don't know if I'm ready for this part of it. I'm just getting up with email. So, Ed Murphy, thank you for joining us.
Thanks a lot, Mark.
Best of luck to you and the future books. We'll be right back on Feedback after this.
Possible through a grant by the Captain Loomis Hotel and Restaurant. The Captain Loomis Hotel and Restaurant is located at 540 Main Street in Clarion and offers dining as well as a nightclub. The restaurant and nightclub are open 7 days a week for your convenience. Call Captain Loomis Hotel and Restaurant 226-8400.
And welcome back to Feedback. I'm Mark Despotakis. Some programming notes for you. TV5 News is coming up next. Join us tomorrow. We're going to be, it's a repeat for you tomorrow night. We're not doing as many shows as you once were. You may have noticed we were off last week. Taking a little bit of a hiatus on some of the shows, try to get some great guests for you, like Ed Murphy tonight, wonderful guest. But tomorrow will be a repeat, a highlight, if you will, and then TV5 News, of course, tomorrow night at 8. Also tonight, make sure that you watch the presidential debate. I believe it's at 9 o'clock. You'll want to tune into that, as always. Get out and vote. Make sure you're registered to vote. That is less than a month away, just a couple weeks. So thank you for joining us. The news is next, and we will see you back here next week and tomorrow night.